Hi, in this video we're going to see how to review bad mistakes. The process is going to be similar to the process of reviewing the reading mistakes. Of course, since this is math, there are going to be some changes. Okay, so when do we apply this method? We want to apply this method either after doing a full practice test, after doing just a practice set from a book or from Khan Academy or any other source, or after doing any math homework, even some exercises, especially if you're studying on your own without an academy or without a tutor. You want to apply this every time you can. Usually it's better to apply this after doing a set, not every one single exercise, but depending on the process that you're taking to study, you can just apply this as soon as you finish one single exercise. Okay, things to consider here. We're going to try to apply this as soon as we finish. So let's say you finish your practice test, review. Finish your homework, review. Like as soon as you finish, you want to review, because even if you're taking notes of your solution, it's going to be easier for you to remember what was going on your head. But if you have just taken a full practice test, and just like I said in the video of reviewing your reading mistakes, you want to review your reading mistakes first. Don't review math first. Yes, this is the video for how to review your math mistakes, but in order of importance, you still want to review reading first, because it's going to be easier for you to remember what you did in the math section than what you were thinking in the reading section. Also, because usually math solutions are something that you can see on your notebook or on your pieces of paper, the scrap paper that you use to solve the questions. So usually it's going to be easier for you to go back and check what on earth you did when you were solving a math question than to go back and check what you were thinking when you solve a reading question. So after you finish your practice test or a set that includes verbal and math, you want to start with the reading mistakes first and then move to the math section. Okay, so what do we do, or what do we do when we apply this process? We understand why our answer was wrong. So basically, we find we find any mistake that we have made, then we correct that mistake, and then we find the correct answer. Basically, this process is about understanding the mistake, correcting the mistake, and then correctly solving the question. So this process, the method is, again, as I said, is very similar to the reading method, but this method, the similarities kind of are half and half. So the method consists of going back. So you go to the question, you go to your mistake, okay, and then you answer these following questions and you write down the answers. Remember, you want to keep track of the answers. So first, why did I choose that alternative? This is the same question as in the reading section, which is, what did I do? What was I thinking? What was my process? What is my procedure? You can check your notes to see, to answer that question. Again, I don't expect you to remember, because you don't really have to remember. Also, since if you just did a practice test, the first thing you review was the reading section, so your memory is about the reading section. By the time you reach math, I don't expect you to remember. You want to check your notes, you want to check your procedures on your notebook and see what exactly you did. And then when you're doing that, you want to see what mistakes did I make. So when you're checking your procedure, and if you, I mean, if you you chose an answer because you did something and you reach an answer and the answer is wrong, it means that you made a mistake. And this is very important. Every time you actually solve a question and you don't reach the correct answer, it means that you have made a mistake. I have another video for the list of common mistakes. So there you may have misunderstood a word, you may have passed a positive as a negative, you may have divided by 3 instead of dividing by 2, you may have added an extra zero. Whatever it is, it's a mistake. And this is very important. And I say this in the video of common mistakes. Even if the thing that got you the wrong answer was, let's say you solve x equals 30, but the question wasn't what the value of x, the question was, what is the value of x plus 1? So the answer is not 30 but 31. And you will think, or you may think to yourself, I didn't make a mistake, I just didn't read the question correctly. Well, not reading the question correctly is a mistake. So whatever prevents you from getting the right answer is a mistake. So what you're going to do is you're going to write down the mistake that you made. So let's say you check your procedure and you realize that this is the mistake, like I didn't read the question correctly. So on your notes you put didn't read the question correctly, or you're going to are you going to write down I passed to the other side and didn't change the sign, so it will be a sign mistake. Or maybe you read two but it was actually four, okay, so misread the question. And again, I want to see I want you to redirect you to the common mistakes video so you can have a general idea of what type of mistakes you could have made. Okay, after we find the mistake, we're going to correct the mistake and then try to solve the question again and answer this question. What is the correct way of solving the question? After we do that, like avoiding any mistakes, we're going to find the answer and then write down the correct answer. And this is it. This is the method. That's it. I'm gonna say some extra things so the video doesn't end here, but I want you to copy these questions, and every time you check your the mistakes, you wanna write down the answers for these questions. Very, very important. You write them down. Don't expect to memorize the solutions. Don't expect yourself or your memory to just have all the information without actually writing it down. You write down everything. So you also want to keep track of what type of mistakes you're making so you're more alert to them. Okay, so, things you want to do when you're doing this, you want to analyze your procedure and find the mistakes. That basically what you do. Sometimes you may not have a procedure because the mistake may be in the calculator. Maybe, I mean, the calculator doesn't make mistakes, but we do make mistakes. So maybe you plug in a number incorrectly. So sometimes you won't find the mistake, and that's fine, but you still analyze it. You want to write down the type of mistake. As I said, there's a list of common mistakes. You want to keep track of what type of mistake you're making. You're going to notice that there's a tendency, most people have a tendency to make one type of mistakes more than the others. You want to use every resource you have. So let's say you cannot find your mistake, or you could find a mistake but you still cannot see the answer. So what you're going to do, you're going to use your notes from your notebook, formulas that you may have or that you may have online. You may Google the things, you may ask a friend, you may ask your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, your uncle, you may ask a tutor. Just use whatever it is you have to use in order to understand and review your mistake. And this is very important. Don't just hope that you actually have the information in your brain. If you don't have the information in your brain, just look for it. Okay, just use whatever it is so you understand the mistake and you can correct the mistake. And after you get the right answer, you want to write down the solution, including any formulas that you may have used. You may not even see the thing that you're copying again. I mean, maybe you just don't even, maybe your exam is in 2 weeks and you're just correcting the previous practice tests today, and you may not even go back and check. I still want you to copy, because just the act of copying things or writing things down is going to help you understand and remember what you're doing. Okay, things you don't want to do. Don't take more than 2 minutes to analyze your procedure. Analyzing meaning to analyze and trying to find a mistake. If you cannot actively find a mistake after 2 minutes, just move on, or just maybe try to solve it from the beginning. Now, this is analyze. I don't mean 2 minutes to stare at your solution or your procedure and expect the mistake to magically appear in front of you. I mean analyze, which means if you have an equation, if you have like x squared plus 3x plus 7 is equal to, I don't know, 10, and then you put the 7 here, x squared plus 3x is equal to 10 minus 7, you want to go step by step, okay? And like, this is okay, this is okay, this is okay, this is okay, okay, I move this to the other side, this is okay. And maybe the mistake is that you put plus 7 instead of minus 7, and that's the mistake. But what you have to do is you have to analyze step by step, line by line. You want to really, really actively look for the mistake. Okay, things you also don't want to do. Don't try to argue about why your answer was the right answer. If your answer is not the right answer, especially if you're dealing with official material, it's not the right answer. Don't waste time or mental effort trying to think about how college board is wrong and you're right. Now, this of course has exceptions. If you're using non-official material, if you're using a book from any other source, Yeah, there's a chance that the book is wrong. There is a chance. I'm not saying that the book is always going to be wrong. I'm saying that this thing about don't try to argue applies for official material. Non-official material, I will have to check. But in general, just don't try to argue. Just if you're convinced that you're right and you can ask a friend or a teacher and they are also convinced, then just assume it and move on. And don't give up. You, like, as I said, you can Google the things, you can use Chat GPT, you can use whatever it is you want, but you want to understand your mistakes. And it's very important, don't move to a new exercise or to a new practice test if you haven't understood all your previous mistakes. So important things: begin a new practice test only after having reviewed all the mistakes from your previous test. This is important because practicing or studying for the SAT is not about doing new stuff all the time. There is actually a limited amount of question types that the SAT presents, and basically what you have to do is just practice on those limited amount of questions. If you had infinite memory or infinite capacity or just 8 hours per day, you will just have to memorize all the different variations of a question and you could get a perfect score in the SAT. So the is as important as it is to keep doing new exercises, it's even more important to understand every single exercise that you have already done. So do not move to a new practice test if you haven't gone through every single mistake of your previous practice test. Another important thing: if you cannot find your mistake, let's say you cannot find a mistake or you cannot get it right, okay, so you're gonna go to the specific theory you need. So go to the specific chapter in a video the series that you're doing or in a book, or go as your math teacher or hire a tutor, because you have to understand your mistakes. And last important thing: keep track of your common mistake. As I said, you're gonna notice that there's a pattern for you. This pattern is it's specific to each student, so your pattern may not be the pattern of another student. In my experience, most of the students follow the pattern of either a sign mistake or a type of silly mistake in which they keep confusing their own handwriting, or they pass to the right but they don't switch the sign, or they divide negative by negative and then they just keep it the negative. So most of the time it's a sign thing. In my experience as a tutor, but in your own private experience as a person, that may not be your problem. So you have to check what is your specific pattern. Okay, so this is pretty much it. This is how I advise my students to review their math mistakes. Um, you can see my website here. You can write anything on the comments. And well, that's it. See you on the next video.